It's Holy Week, and it's all about the road to the cross and the empty tomb. It's all about the road to the cross and the empty tomb. And that's what we're talking about this week. I certainly hope that you are ready for Resurrection Sunday. But before we get to that, let's walk with Jesus through the last week of his life. Let's walk with Jesus through the last week of his life. Let him take our hands and let's learn more about what happened this week. I think that's very, very important. So often, what we do, we jump right into Easter, pastel colors and all, eggs and all, bunny rabbits and all, and never really driving home what it's all about. Well, good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna, and got a word for you on this morning, of course. And I want to greet a couple of people before I get into the word on this morning. Good morning, Brenda. How are you on this morning? Good morning, Betty. How are you? Grand rising to you as well. Good morning, Valerie. How are you? Now, I want you guys to do this for me. If you would, just share it right now. Don't wait. Go ahead and share right now because we want to expand our reach. Good morning, Elder. How are you? Elder Mobley, how are you on this morning? We want to expand our reach and reach more people, of course. Good morning, Brother Nesbitt. How are you doing on this morning? Good morning, Ella. How are you? Good morning, Maybell. How are you? Look, this is what we want to do. We want to expand our reach, and it's going to take you to do that. We want to take you to do that. And I just want to just share with you. We got the Lent journal on here. Here is the last week. Here is the last week. All you got to do is get that QR code right now, and then get the Lent journal. This is the last week, and every morning manna devotion this week is going to be leading us to, of course, Good Friday, the cross, and then Sunday, the empty tomb. So many times, what happens is people just jump right over this week and rush right into Resurrection Sunday morning. Well, not so for us because we've been practicing Lent to Lent with love. And in fact, my sermon this coming Sunday is How Deep Is Your Love? How Deep Is Your Love? It's a little mini series that I'm going to start on this coming Sunday. Well, how's everybody on this morning? I want to say this before I get into this morning's manna. Thank you all for your prayers. Thank you for your prayers on last week. Had a tough task of the eulogy. And so I really appreciate your prayers on last week. I felt your prayers. I went back and just kind of watched the worship experience of the homegoing of those three little children, and just still touching, still very much a touching situation. So thank you for your prayers. Want to say good morning to a couple of people and then get into this word. Good morning, Bob. How are you on this morning? Shay, how are you on this morning? Peggy, how are you on this morning? Jewel, how are you? Melanie, how are you all on this morning? Let's get into the word. Let's get into the word. There is the Lent journal. You can get that. Make sure that you get that. Let's get into the word on this morning. It's going to be the text to talk, to take away, 5 minutes or less. Let's dive into the word. It's all about Holy Week. Today is day 2. You know, the week starts on Sunday. Yesterday was the triumphant entry. Today is all about money, money, money. It's all about money, money, money. Here is the text. Matthew 21:12. Matthew 21:12. Jesus entered the temple. He entered the temple area and drove out who were buying and selling there. What were they buying and selling? He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. The 13th verse. My house will be called a house of prayer. My house will be called a house of prayer. What's going on? Let me give you the context of the text, and we're going to get right into three things about the text. The context of the text is this: scholars debate whether this took place on Sunday in the afternoon, the evening after the triumphant entry, or Monday. We're saying it started on Monday. He goes into the temple. Two things that you want to pick up on: the fact that he says he turns over the table that the people are selling. What they are doing are the money exchangers. The temple had its currency, and the Roman government had its currency. In order for you to do any business in the temple, you had to use temple currency. So you had to go to the exchange person. Just like when you're in the airport, you're going to a foreign country, and there's always the money exchanger there. The rates were exorbitant. The rates were outrageous. The rates were such that it took advantage of people. So therefore, they would then take advantage of people because why did they need temple currency? Well, the main reason so that they could buy a sacrifice, so that they could buy a sacrifice. When they would buy the sacrifice, then they would be able to go take that sacrifice to the high priest, whoever was working the whole altar, the brazen altar area, so that they could then sacrifice and then have the blood cover the altar and them, and their sins would be forgiven. What am I saying here? Jesus said, look, this thing has turned into anything than what my Father had intended for it to be. You're taking advantage of people. And three things that are being impacted as a result of that. Jesus' anger boils over. What does that tell us about our anger? Be angry, but sin not. The emotion is not the sin, it's what you do with the emotion that is sinful. Jesus says, I am redirecting my anger to turn this thing out. That's exactly right. He didn't use the song, I'm going to turn this mother out. No, he didn't say that. He said, but I'm going to turn this thing out. So what does he do? He turns the tables over because of the second thing is you are denying access to God. This is the way that they practice their worship. You came in, you got the money, you exchanged your Roman money for temple money. You took your temple money, you bought the sacrifice. Now you had access to God and forgiveness and repentance. That was the way, that was the worship. Jesus said, look, you are denying access. I'm wiping away all of that. Everybody should be able to get in the presence of the Lord. Here is the third thing. The third thing is this: all people, all of God's people, no matter their social economic status. Why is that important? The text tells us. The text tells us that he said these are the people that are selling doves. Why is that important? Because doves was the lowest sacrifice that you could buy. Not a bull, not a sheep, not any of those things. Dove was for the poor. You can't get access to him, and that was relegated to the poor. Jesus said, look, that's why they pointed it out. Everybody ought to be able to have access, even the poor. Your socioeconomic, whether you got money or not, should not determine whether or not you get access to the Father. That's why Jesus snapped. And therein lies our lesson for understanding on this Holy Week. What's the application for us? What's our takeaway? You know, the text to talk, the takeaway. The takeaway is this: don't ever let anybody, whether they are prophetic with a word that says you got to put a gift in my hand before you're going to hear what God has to say about your situation, don't let anybody deny your access to the Father. The Lord be with you today. May his face shine upon you, give you peace. Share the man. If it bless you, bless somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. We're walking through this week all the way to the cross. Every day we're going to talk about what happens in this Holy Week. You can get this journal right there on the screen. God bless you. Share the man. Don't keep it to yourself. Bye now.